most beginners figure out how to get themselves in a spot where they won't miss the ball, and they make contact, and they don't miss the ball from there on. Right. And just expand upon that and how the learning should go from there.
Right. Well, I think that the first thing people do is when they learn golf for the first time, they miss the ball, and then they hit the ball, and they go, oh, okay. Some people never progress beyond getting very ball bound and the thought I must try to hit the ball, and so they get very, very concentrated on the ball. And going back to what I was saying earlier about a balance in motion and stability, these people, when they begin, if they get too ball bound, they get very tied into being here right on the ball, and I have to manage hitting this ball, so they never really develop a good motion. Whereas a child will walk in and they'll make this great motion, miss the ball, and they'll go, oh, all right. And the child will intuitively learn the game, or at least to hit the ball well. They'll intuitively just take their motion and walk it around until, hey, I can hit it from there. And then they'll intuitively keep going back to that spot. And then they'll start to see where the ball's flying. At least this is how I learned the game. I didn't think about trying to swing a certain way to make the ball curve. And I don't know why I learnt this way, but I did. I did it instinctively. If I wanted to hit the ball through that gap in the trees and curve it back onto the green to the right, I would stand there until I felt like, yeah, that should have worked, and then I'd hit it. And I would either do what I wanted or something close to it. But the person who gets all bound up, and then I'll go and take a lesson, and the first thing that they might, I'm not saying that all lessons would go this way, but the first thing that might happen is somebody might tell them, because they get too static, someone might tell you, well, you've got to get that club going, so let's cock your wrists. And so it goes on. And I want to make a point that probably the worst teacher you can have is yourself if you don't know what you're doing. And that was the case with me as a player. I only knew how to play instinctively. I had good coaching when I was playing on the tour. My coach was Bob Weir in Australia, and he was great. Problem was, I had ideas, and I had thoughts, and I had ways that I could get better. And most of the things that I introduced into it weren't very good for me. He was always getting on at me, don't tinker so much. But I didn't understand why, and I was craving the why, because I'd go out and play in a tournament. I'd hit the ball great on 14 of the holes, and then I'd hit 3 or 4 balls that were just wide, and I question it. And something like that, I think, happened to Sevi as well. Eventually he got sick of the wide ball, and he's like, I want to fix this. So the new player, as they start an adult learner, and we should stick with adult learners, because if anybody played as a kid and they learned instinctively, then they should just go back to that as a starting point. Yeah. If they're lost,
but it's interesting when you look at that, and then the point that you just made, because I mean the big difference between a kid and an adult is that the adult fears making mistakes, and therefore which is exactly what you said about Sevi didn't want to hit the wide ball
eventually,
because he just doesn't want that to happen basically, but it wouldn't bother a kid.
And that's right, and it didn't bother a young Sevi so much, because he'd just look at it as an opportunity to show off his skills at getting out of trouble. And he still possessed those skills later on, but he saw the way that he could elevate his game was through improving his swing so that he didn't get the wide ball. But it's not your swing that gives you the wide ball, it's aiming it wide. It gives you, if you aim it wide, then you instinctively will try to bring it back online, and you'll do some different things, because our brain, physically, we're pretty good at knowing where we are. Like, I know that screen's right there, and I know you're there, and the camera's there, and got old mate in the corner here. So I know where everything is. So I might aim way right and be looking at the flag, and I might think I'm aimed reasonably well, or I might not be aware of it, but my physical brain knows where that target is, so when it comes in here I can feel where it's going to go, and I might get involved and make a bad swing. So the worse we aim, the worse we swing.
Yeah.